You're having an absolutely amazing day so far today. Now, today's topic on bank fluctuation is actually a topic that I think, honestly, is going to be kind of difficult to explain, but I have wanted to make this video for a while. I've been thinking about it. It's something that I try to explain a lot, and hopefully I'll be able to convey everything I'm trying to. Like, hopefully this makes sense, is what I'm getting at. Basically, what I'm trying to talk about is that basically what I'm trying to talk about is that as the items in your bank fluctuate in their price up and down all over the place, your overall bank value changes as well. And now that makes a lot of sense. I'm sure hearing that you say, yeah, that makes sense. Like, no duh. But there are many people, and I'm sure that you could be one of them, that thinks that when you buy an item, you don't lose money on it until you sell it. And while in theory that makes sense, in actuality and in practicality, that's not really the sort of mindset that you want to have when you are trying to make any sort of investment or merchanting attempt. And I know this from experience. I have held on to items way too long, hoping that, well, it'll go back up. I still have a chance to make my money back, and then I just get burned. You need to be considering that your bank is changing as items change and react accordingly. Now, as you can see, I'm on Microsoft Excel right now. I've set up a graph, just like a line graph, basically, and some numbers I have over here. I'll explain what all of those mean in just a second. But basically what I'm trying to demonstrate is how a bank can change over time with some completely arbitrary numbers that I literally made up within the past half an hour. So let's take a look at what all of this really represents. Now, on the x-axis, we have time, and this can be any unit time. This could be over like the course of a day. This could be over a year. It really doesn't matter. This is strictly just to demonstrate over time. Units don't really matter. When I'm talking about liquid or liquid cash, I'm talking about literally the amount of monetary liquid coins that you have available to spend on an item. This is literally your GP or your spirit shards, which you can then convert into coins. This is what you can use to invest. This is your asset. When it's not invested in anything, it's stable, it's constant. When it is invested in something, then you're hoping that those items you're invested in will move upward, or that you'll be able to sell them at a higher price in order to then cash back out and wind up with more coins than you started with in the first place. That's the entire goal of merchanting. But just know that when I'm talking about liquid cash, I'm talking about money, straight money that isn't invested in anything. A, B, C, and D here are just arbitrary items. I didn't assign any sort of particular item because there really isn't a reason to. Just think of them as four different items. You can even think of them as being the same item if you want to, but I think that's kind of going to get confusing. So yeah, that doesn't even really work with my graph. So these are four different items. And your total bank value, I have taken as, if we look at the function here, it's a function of adding up your liquid coins to any item you may be invested in. Now, of course, if you're not invested in B, C, and D, say at this time point, then those are just zero. And your total bank value is still going to be just your liquid plus item A. Hopefully that makes sense, and we can get on to actually explaining this. Basically, what I'm trying to demonstrate here through item A is a standard flip where you invest, say you invest 30 mil, and then you sell off for 3 mil profit. Again, these are completely arbitrary numbers. They might not even be feasible or accurate. It's just the concept of selling at a higher price. When you sell at this higher price, you wind up with 103 mil at the end. As this happens, 103 mil total bank value, we're good. That makes sense to everybody, I think. I don't really think that I need to explain that more in depth. Again, if you have any questions at any point during this video, feel free to write them down in the comments, or if don't post it yet, wait until I get through the whole video, because there's a chance maybe I'll answer your question, maybe not. But if you do have a question, make sure to write it down, post it to me eventually. I will definitely get back to you and try to help in any way I can to explain it. But I don't think we have any issue with what's going on in item A. Just so you know, I've color coordinated everything on the actual table here to be the same as on the graph. I also have a legend down here in case anything's a little bit iffy in terms of like how the quality of the video turns out as in terms of colors. So here we'll have A, B, C, and D over here, with your liquid being this line here and your total bank value here on top. Moving on to item B here, this is where I really want to be, maybe not really want to, but it's definitely a focus of this video and kind of the scenario that I want you to be thinking about when you are invested in an item. And that is, say for example, you buy an item and then over time it just continuously drops. Yes, theoretically, it could have the potential to rise in the future and you could sell off at break even or even for profit. That is definitely a possibility. But in actuality, if you see a downward trend that's this steady, there isn't, I mean, I'm not trying to give you advice or say if something is moving steadily downward, it's never going to turn around. In no way is this supposed to be an advice on what you should do based on how a graph looks. That is entirely up to you. And I wish you the best of luck with whatever decisions you make. I'm just trying to convey kind of a mindset you should have, not an idea of actions that you should be taking based on certain circumstances. So I need to throw out that disclaimer right now, really quick, before people start losing bank and blaming me on it, which of course is very likely to happen. But here you can see that an item started at 50 mil, and over X amount of time, it's worth 30 mil. Now, again, you could say that it could go back up and you could break even and make money. And what a lot of people do is they kind of ignore this total bank value. So if I just delete this for a second, so it's completely gone and we're just looking at cash and items, you can say, yeah, I still have this amount of cash. I invested in this item. So I went from all cash to some cash and an item. Hopefully the item will go up and I can sell it and then have more cash. That's the goal. But what people don't really think about is that that item is still worth something and its value is moving around. Your goal is going to be to sell that item when it's worth more and not when it's worth less. That's something I'll get more into in just a little bit, but basically what that means is that you need to be considering that your bank is moving or your bank value is changing as this item fluctuates up and down in price. As this item continuously moves down, yes, your cash stack hasn't changed. You still have your coins and your item. But what you don't have, or what you don't notice, is that your bank value is decreasing. If you were to sell out that item at any point along this time frame, you will have lost money. And that is something that you really need to consider, is that you are still losing money even if you aren't selling. If I buy something completely overpriced and I know that there's like zero chance of me selling it back for that price in the future, yes, theoretically I could, and I could say, yeah, I sold that for what I bought it for. I didn't lose money. But the probability of that could be slim to none. And in that case, you just need to be thinking about how your item fluctuation is fluctuating the wealth of your bank. You shouldn't just blindly hold on to items until you can break even. I'm not going to discourage you from doing that if you want to, and yes, there is always the possibility, but this is definitely something that you should consider. Now, if we look into item C here, you can see that it moves up and down and an overall downward trend if we look at like a linear trend line of it, but it does move up and down and there are high points where you could be selling for profit. Now, if we see the item was purchased at 25, we'll say 25 mil, went up to 35, 18, 30, and 15. Now, there were 2 points along this graph when it could have been sold for profit, and that is the goal. Of course, in any merchanting attempt, you're trying to make money and sell it for more than you bought it for. Buy low, sell high, you know the deal. The thing is, though, that you need to be pinpointing those times and be able to actually sell for profit. You can't just hold the item forever because it has this downward trend and overall you would lose money. Like if this graph was to continue along this same idea, theoretically it would go up a little bit more, down farther, up a little bit more, and down farther. But again, what I'm trying to convey here is that even though you can sell for profit here, you can sell for profit here, your bank value is fluctuating with it. You could also be selling for a loss here. And at this point, if we look at your bank value, it will have gone down from where it was beforehand. And I sound like a broken record, and I know, and I'm sorry if this is really annoying, but your bank changes as the items you're carrying change. I have lost so much money from holding an item for too long, thinking, you know what, it has potential to go back up. It has potential. I can ride through this and I will make it out okay. And I'm not trying to discourage you from doing that. If that's something that you have a lot of faith in and you know it's possible, then by all means, like this, that's your decision. But you need to be considering that you are still technically losing money in those situations until you're actually able to sell out for profit. You can sell out for profit and still make money in the end, but there was still a point when you lost money, and that is key. Also, I threw in an item D at the end of this here, and you can see I was gaining steady profit on item D. And this steady profit was kind of counteracting the steady loss on item C. You can see here, even though this has a steeper downward trend right here, it does not have a steep of a trend here because we have the growth from item D. And that's another thing, is that if you are really looking to be making money through merchanting, you're going to want to be diversifying and investing in multiple things at once because, if one market goes to shit, then another market might be doing okay, things like that. Again, by no means am I an expert on this. If you want a great YouTube channel to check out for anything RuneScape merchanting related, check out Merches. I will throw a link for that in the description. Hopefully, if I remember, I'll throw a link for that in an annotation above this video. Definitely check into that. Divine does an amazing job. He's brilliant. He's an awesome guy. Check that out, please. And I am not being paid or sponsored, or I have not been asked to sponsor that. That's entirely just my own choice. It's a channel that I love. It's a guy that I know. He's a great guy again, and hopefully you'll find some help and advice there. I'm not trying to give advice. I'm just trying to give you some sort of mindset, and that mindset again is just to think about how your bank is changing as the items you hold move up and down in price. I think at this point I have just been ranting so much about the same thing over and over again. I don't know what else I can really say about it without just repeating myself 10 more times. So I really hope that this has been helpful for you. If you have any more questions, please leave them in the comments. I would be thrilled to receive any questions and answer them all I can to the best of my ability. Other than that, thank you so much for stopping by my video. Have an amazing day, stay happy, and I'll see you next time.